Hey, I'm your host, Dr. Desiree Cassell. I'm an orthopedic and pelvic floor physical therapist specializing in women's health, aka pelvic floor. I'm a wife, mom of 3, foodie, lover of all things movement and nature, and I'm super passionate about educating, empowering, and supporting other women like you to find and maintain balance throughout all aspects of their lives, without pain, pressure, or peeing their pants. And this is the Balanced Momtality Podcast, where we will talk about all things pelvic floor, your core, and optimizing your pregnancy, birth, and postpartum recovery, providing you with the knowledge and tools so that you can feel like the strong, playful, and happy mom that you and your family deserve. Now let's get you out of those pads and back to loving movement. Fill up your water, pop in those AirPods, roll out your mat, and let's connect. Before we start today's episode, just a quick disclaimer that anything mentioned in this podcast is not meant to treat or diagnose any medical conditions. If you have any questions or concerns about your healthcare needs, please seek the care of your medical provider. This is also a safe space where we will be talking about very sensitive but important topics, such as issues with peeing and pooping, relationships, and even sex. So if you have littles around, probably a good idea to pop those AirPods in. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hey love, thanks for being here. Always such an honor to have me in your earbuds each week. And now we are showing up 2 times a week. So that is 2 opportunities to get some inspiration, get some tools and tips and tricks, and just stay on track with your health and wellness goals with some guidance from me, Dr. Des, in your ear. So I hope you're enjoying these extra episodes. Definitely give me some feedback. I love getting any messages from you guys. If you guys share my show, tag me in your stories, all of that just helps not only share this information and this show so that others can find it, but it also just really inspires me to keep showing up here for you. So with that being said, this week, I wanted to touch on postpartum because this is a time where so much is going on. We call it the postpartum cloud for a reason, right? You are adjusting, especially if this is your first baby. There's so much that you are trying to get used to on top of having limited to no sleep. Your hormones are feeling like a freaking roller coaster. You don't know who you are from one minute to the next. And you also have to take care of this little human. And let's not forget, heal and recover your own body that just created, grew, and birthed another human into this world. So important, and yet we get put on the back burner. So many people feel like, when they come to see me, that's the question. So what exercises do I do postpartum? What can I do to help myself heal? And how can I make sure that I'm going at this recovery appropriately and I'm not pushing it too much, but I want to make sure I'm also doing some exercises. So what are the right exercises? And yes, this is definitely valid, definitely great information that we need to know. And I will be putting a podcast episode out about that information, which I do already have also a version of a postpartum recovery episode. So definitely check it out. But after scanning my library of episodes, I did realize I don't have enough postpartum specific episodes. So I wanted to take this opportunity to just dive in to one of the topics, I guess you could say, or things that you really should be paying attention to, because everyone's focused on exercise, but really there's actually a lot of things that you might be doing already, not exercise related, that are actually harming your recovery and may even cause issues like leaking and prolapse and pain with intercourse, even if that wasn't present at all during pregnancy or even before pregnancy. So this is not to add shame. It's about awareness. Most of us were just never taught this information, which is why I am here to help spread the word. And again, help me spread the word as well, because just acknowledging how layered and comprehensive and holistic our healing should be is the first step, right? It's not only physical, it's emotional, and it is systemic. We need to reconnect and really sit with our feelings, our physical body, how we're feeling each moment, which is probably changing because of those dang hormones. But having this piece of awareness and acknowledgement of what you're already doing might be the game changer for you. It's not necessarily doing more exercises or more breath work or more release work or, all of these physical things that are definitely important, and I don't want to downplay them. But the purpose of this episode is to really bring awareness to the common things that we're already doing in this postpartum phase, especially, that are really causing issues. And these are things that will cause everyone issues. So even if you're not postpartum, still stay and hang out and listen to this episode, because these are going to talk about common patterns and behaviors and things that you might be doing that are also contributing to your issues, especially if you're quote unquote doing all the things and you're not seeing progress, right? But especially postpartum, this is where we really get stuck in some of these patterns. And so I wanted to just touch on some of these, common postpartum patterns that really do sabotage your healing, and they aren't exercise related. So, the first one, yes, I am touching on breath work. I know I wasn't going to say doing more breath work, and that's not necessarily what this is, although I will say that it's never a bad idea to do more breath work. But we're talking more about the bad, right? So holding your breath. We do not want to hold your breath, and we don't want to over brace. I don't know about you, but if you've never had a baby before, you will feel like a loose bag of bones when that baby comes out. It goes from having this intense heaviness and pressure in your belly, which was actually providing some stability because it was increasing that tension. And now it's all gone. And so everything is stretched out and weak and or maybe tight because of the trauma that delivery really is. And we just feel like we have no stability. And so what does the body do? It grips, it clenches, it tightens, it tenses, it tries to protect and provide stability the best it knows how. But unfortunately, this can cause so many issues. If you caught my episode last week talking about, is your core harming and hurting you? It's a very similar episode to this. Go listen to it because it dives a lot more into that specifically. How are you bracing? Are you gripping? Are you doing that incorrectly? So go check that out. The other thing is just overdoing it too soon and really ignoring your body's signals that you are overdoing it and going back too soon. I want to give a big kick to the face to bounce back culture. This is just nonsense, right? It's not a badge of honor to be able to go running 6 weeks postpartum. In fact, to me, it just says you are so naive and you're trying to push your body when really you are causing issues. We are never ready to run at 6 weeks postpartum. I don't care if you aren't leaking and if you feel good. We still have tissues that are healing that is very crucial. And if you're ignoring all of that, that is going to then cause problems. Maybe you weren't leaking, but you go on that run and you feel okay. So you go for the next run and now we're leaking, right? We need to have some time to rehab those muscles. Now, that doesn't mean you won't be running soon, especially if you're strong and feeling good. But we need to listen to those symptoms and signs and signals that your body is giving you that things aren't working well. And what are those signs and symptoms? Leaking, right? So if we have any leaking, and this is kind of going into also what I call the body boundaries, which I talk a lot about on and we dive into so deep inside of the Restore program. So definitely go and join Restore if you want more information or a one-on-one coaching call to make sure you are within those body boundaries, because that's really this concept that you're working within your body's boundaries, right? The body's limits. And when we're ignoring those, that's where we're at risk for not only leaking and prolapse and causing actual diastasis and pelvic issues, but also like, what if we're at risk for an ACL tear or an Achilles tear or a rotator cuff strain? Like, that's where the pelvic floor is shifting forces if it cannot manage the load. So body boundaries are very important, and I have episodes on that, so go check it out. But just a quick review: leaking. We're not doing anything with leaking. Pain. We're not doing anything with pain. If we're feeling a lot of pressure down on the pelvic floor and pelvic organs, or we're unable to engage our brace and we're seeing pressure shove into our belly, we're also not doing it. But again, breathing is a boundary. If you are holding your breath, that is a boundary, and we're not doing it. Sometimes it's not as simple as we're not doing it or we are, right? Maybe it might be that it's that third set and you're fatigued, or maybe it's rep number 7 and you're stopping there versus going all the way to 10. It's really about just honoring your body and what it's telling you each day, and don't push your body, right? It really not only pushes your body, but it pushes your nervous system into survival mode, which really does delay the true healing. I've talked so much about that connection with your nervous system and trying to really feel that grounding and balance to really get true healing to happen. And this is still ever so present, and especially present in that postpartum phase. We do not want to be in a high state of stress. Another thing is sitting posture. So this is a huge thing, because imagine now you have this new tiny baby that you're feeding, carrying, holding, nursing, burping, right? Like so many activities that you're usually sitting for. And not only are you sitting for them, but you're usually rounded and slouched forward, feeding, carrying, right? That posture that's pulling you forward not only is going to cause a lot of neck tension and chest and shoulder tightness and mid-upper back pain, but that is pressure down on the pelvic organs. And even if you're like, Des, I am doing my breath work every day. I'm even doing some gentle bracing every day. It feels good. I'm going to say, yay, awesome. But are you also paying attention to your posture? Because if you are doing those exercises and breath work 5% of your day, but then slouched and sitting on the couch the other 95% of the day, I'm sorry, but it's really going to be like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, and you're going to get frustrated because you're not really going to get that progress that you're really seeking. So this can cause prolapse. This can cause diastasis. In this early postpartum phase, up to about 12 weeks, those tissues are still healing, and we can either aid that healing by engaging them correctly and posturing correctly and not over pressurizing or holding our breath, or we can make things a lot worse by slouching all day, pushing during a bowel movement and straining, holding our breath, being dehydrated. Like there's a lot of things that can actually wreak havoc if you're not paying attention. So just pay attention during those feeds, the cuddles. If you're sitting at work, watch the stack and bring baby to you. Add an extra boppy or extra pillows. The boppy's usually not enough. You want to bring baby up to you so you're in that nice stack. And if anything, you can even lean back a little bit. We don't want to slouch forward. And if you catch yourself there, hey, no shame. We're all going to be there at some point. Just give yourself a pat on the back because you checked in. Pull that tall line up and tall, and there you go, right? Because now you're not hanging in that slouch all day. You interrupted the pattern, and that is the key. It's not about checking in and being in the perfect pattern. It's checking in and saying, ooh, oops, and then pulling out of it, because that's what makes it so you're not there all day long. So that cumulative strain of time is just where that fascia starts to pull, the organs start to fall, the diastasis starts to spread. So just keep an eye on the time in those positions and postures and pull that nice tall stack. Another thing at this point that isn't physical or exercise related is, again, this is very emotionally and mentally taxing, especially if you're not getting good sleep. And especially if you had a birth story where maybe you feel like you didn't have that situation you wanted. It feels somewhat traumatic or maybe very traumatic. And maybe it was very traumatic for your physical body and your mental body. This is something to give grace and compassion for and seek help for. There's no shame in postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, or just feeling unsure that you don't know what's going on, or you're overwhelmed, there are resources out there. And I will tell you, getting enough sleep is going to be the biggest game changer for you. So please make sure that you are getting some supported sleep, even if that's getting a postpartum doula, trading shifts with a partner, having grandma come in and watching baby so you can nap. We really need to make sure you're getting enough sleep, or that emotional stress definitely lands in the core and pelvic floor. That core and pelvic floor especially, they hold emotion. They store the grief, the resentment, the fear. And then as we start to heal and try and bring attention, we now have these added layers that we have to work through. And it becomes something much more complicated than just working out a trigger point. We're working out that emotional trauma, the lack of boundaries, right? So bring that awareness into your own self. How are you feeling? What support do you need? Ask yourself that each day. What do I need more of now? How can I get it? And ask for help. And I am here for you if you need any help, even if it's in finding more resources for getting lactation support or sleep support, right? So reach out. It takes a village. You are not alone. We need to keep the emotional health piece in mind, especially in this postpartum phase. The other pattern is skipping the nervous system regulation or breath work. So I wasn't going to mention exercise, and this isn't that much, but even with exercise, healing stalls when we're not making our nervous system feel safe. So yes, breath work is technically kind of an exercise, but for me, it really ties more into the nervous system regulation, calming the body down. And in this regard, we are thinking about it whenever you're stressed, whenever you're having pain. We're really trying to just check in. How are you feeling? Take that nice, slow, deep breath. Exhale even longer than you inhale and feel your body instantly melt tension away. Versus breath work for more of the physical piece, like opening tight muscles and trying to rebalance the core. You might go through a few yoga poses and sit with it a little deeper and do it once a day. That's a little different than checking in with your breath throughout the day to catch the tension, catch the jaw clenching, catch the irritability with your kids, and take that nice, calming, deep breath. So what do we do instead? Because a lot of these things are things we're going to fall into. And again, that's fine, but how can we optimize it and get out of it quicker? So the biggest thing, use my body check. This body check is something that I've talked about on the podcast recently. I've talked about it with many of my patients. I talk about it in the Restore program many times, but this is that assessment of checking in. Becoming aware. How is your posture? How is your breath? How is your tension? And let's try and optimize that. And if you want more on that, go find the episode with the body check. I will link it in the show notes below. The other thing is to actually get into that breath work a little deeper, right? And really assess, how is your posture when you're sitting and feeding? How is your breath? Is it shallow and trapped into your chest? This is kind of bringing the body check into just those functional places where you're going to be most of the day, right? So sitting at work, sitting in the car, maybe you're standing at work, maybe you're baby wearing all day. And so we need to break that up. Like if we're just sitting all day, not good. If we're just standing all day and baby wearing especially, not good, because that's probably going to be too much pressure for your system. And we really just want to start reconnecting in those small moments and catching the tension and trying to soften and not trying to like force exercise or force Kegels or force a walk too soon. And I know this isn't exercise related, but I'm just going to give a little exercise tidbit here that not only can you walk way too soon? So I don't think you should be walking that first week or even the second week. Those are times to really just be in bed, around the house, keeping up with your normal day-to-day there and not trying to push it outside of the home too early. And the other thing, I know I talked about going too hard too soon with exercise, but you can also do not enough for too long, right? So people think, oh, I have to wait till that 6-week clearance to do anything. That's also not right because you're already picking up baby, picking up a car seat. Hopefully not a ton. Hopefully you have some support, but
we're already doing things. You're carrying laundry baskets, like you might be pushing a stroller. These are effort moments. And if you don't know how to brace, you don't know how to breathe through those moments, you're also going to cause problems with those exercises, or you can actually make those little movements and exercises and reconnections of breath work and bracing and some gentle bridges, maybe some gentle core march, and get in some actual exercise before 6 weeks. So right around 3 to 4 weeks, I think it's totally safe as long as you're within those body boundaries. And again, if you're unsure if you are, that's where you get support. But also don't feel like you have to wait for that 6-week check, because that is where you might have waited too long and caused problems, or maybe you pushed it and cause problems. So I just wanted to bring some awareness to some things that aren't necessarily exercise focused, but that are definitely things that you can be keeping an eye on. And before I wrap up, one last one that popped into my head is bowel movements. We've talked about how important bowel movements are in the past. Constipation is public enemy number 1 of the pelvic floor. So make sure you are taking that stool softener postpartum, even if you didn't really tear or if it's not hurting that much. But especially if you tore, or especially if you're having a little pain or constipation, please take that stool softener, and also make sure you're drinking plenty of water, because as we're breastfeeding and healing, maybe you're not breastfeeding, but we still want to stay hydrated as our tissues heal. This is where we can cause constipation and back pain and pelvic pain and heaviness and prolapse if we don't have our gut and bowel movements optimized. So just another non-diet thing or non-exercise thing I want you guys to think about. But this is the work that we do inside Restore, because healing isn't just about the exercise. It's about unwinding the habits that aren't serving your healing and really starting to build a sustainable program and fully holistic health well-being system that works for your body where you're at in your season. So Pelvic Floor Core and More is the app. It gives you tools that you can work with in real life. You can track things. You can watch the master classes there for free. And if you want to dive in more to Restore, now is the time. You get access to me via a community, and I'm there to help you troubleshoot issues. We've got so much magic going on inside there right now, and I can't wait for you to join me. But otherwise, I hope you stay tuned for this next episode this week. I'm hoping to get it out on Friday. Popping out 2 episodes a week is definitely a little hard during the summer, but hey, we are here and we are showing up. So thankful for you showing up with me again this week. Stay tuned for another episode on Pelvic Floor Core and More.
Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. I know you've got so many other important things going on, but I hope it was helpful and you leave here with some tools to help you in your healing journey. And I just want to ask you, if you have found this helpful, to please leave a review on iTunes. Scroll down to the bottom of my podcast page and leave that 5-star review so it can help other women see this information. And also, if you want to be a part of my community of amazing women trying to balance all the things, great tips and insight and sharing stories and just motivating each other along the way, feel free to join my Facebook group, The Balanced Momtality Wellness and Support. I hope to see you here next time on the Balanced Momtality Podcast.